Hi everyone. Well, I hope you're well. It's Dick Wade coming at you today on the 13th of April 2024 from Newcastle upon Tyne. Welcome to everybody. People who join us now live, welcome to yourselves, and anybody who watches subsequently on our YouTube channel. You are all extremely welcome. So I've got a nice surprise and I think a good treat ahead of us today. But before we do that, I want to mention something, and I want to mention something that's really, really important, or will be important to the success of this channel going forward, and that is interaction. So you probably know better than I the way that the YouTube algorithms work. It works on people being interested in any given channel. So if we get people who are subscribing, liking or disliking, and then commenting on our content, that says to YouTube, aha, people are interested in this and interacting with it either positively or negatively, and therefore we'll show it to more people. So can I ask you now, you're obviously watching it on YouTube because it's not going out anywhere else. So just spare me 1 second of your time, look down below and click the subscribe button. It won't cost you a penny. You don't have to come back and watch any other future videos, but your subscription will go a long way in promoting and furthering the reach of this little project that we've kicked off that seems to be going down rather well. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail towards the end of today's chapter. So please subscribe. If you like what you hear over the next 30, 40, 50, 60, there is no timing. We're going to go with a flow. If you like what you hear, click the like button. If you don't like what you hear, click the dislike button. We welcome all opinions. We're an open, flexible society here. So dislikes and likes. What I would like to stress, though, is the ability to interact with what we're doing here. So I'm about to click a button called the chat button here. And what we can see already, I'm going to show you, is thank you, Des. So now we know who's coming on. It wasn't a surprise, but thanks. So Des has joined us already. Des, thank you so much. Thank you for commenting. And it's a great way for me to show the example that we are live and you can interact. So if you want to leave a message for myself or my guest, then you can do so in the comments section at the bottom of the YouTube box. Just type your comments in there and it will appear live here on the right hand side of my screen. I can then filter that and sense check it. And those that aren't full of profanities and nasty, horrible words, I can click the button and it will come sliding in, just like the one that Des has done. So thanks, Des. We really do appreciate that. And as we go through, we can attempt to answer any questions that pop up. Or if you're really interested, send me a message telling me I want to come on. And towards the end, if you're still watching, I will, by that stage, will have sent you a link to either your Facebook page, Facebook contact, your mobile or your WhatsApp if I've got them. If I haven't, I'll ask you for it discreetly. And then you will then appear on the left-hand side of my screen and I can bring you in to have a quick chat with me, my guests, or ask any questions that you wish to ask. So shall we get cracking then? Let's get rid of that. So it's no surprise because we published the itinerary some time ago that today we have a guest joining us on the show. Now, I've been really looking forward to this for a number of reasons that will become evident as we go through, because we're going to bring onto the feed in the next couple of seconds Richard Longstaff, commonly known to all of his friends and everyone in military and civvy circles as Jap. I'm going to try and find out why that is. So I honestly don't know. So we'll come on to that probably straight at the get-go. And the way we're going to play it is we're going to ad-lib it. I know Jap's in the corner. I can see him there, and I'm going to bring him in a minute. We've tested. He's waving away to me. We've tested comms. We've tested audio. Things are working. We've got a couple of little things lined up for you. And let's just explain why we're here, what this is all about. Military environmental health memories. So the idea is for me to bring in various guests onto this live feed, totally unscripted, to see where it goes. and to ask questions and listen. So I very much got my listening ears on here to hear what people have got to say. What's their story? Let's see when they joined the military, when they joined Army Health or Air Force Health or Navy Health, as the case will be. We've got lots of guests lined up for future episodes that you'll see. And so the idea is to listen to what people have to say. Let hear a few stories, talk a few funnies, a few dits, if you like, and then give you, the people out there, the viewers, if you like, the chance to ask questions and interact as we go through. So that's what we're all about. So let's turn that off. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in, and let me just change the view. So we are, where we go. We are now live. So, Jack, can you hear me okay? And
perfectly.
How are you? And what's happening? Where are you today? Let's find out. Where are you first of all?
Well, I live in a suburb of Manchester called Marple. I'm obviously not from Manchester, but my wife is. So you've got to keep your wife happy. So I've lived here the longest I've lived anywhere in my life, but I'm never, ever going to be a Manc, as you can probably hear.
Yeah. But how long have you been there then, Jack? You've been there a long time.
96, yeah, 96 we moved here. Wow. I brought my children up in the house. They've moved out. And,
right. Okay. Well, that's interesting, because I'm going to come on to specifically your garden later.
Oh, yes.
So but let's park that to the side. Let's dive in then. Let's have a little think about Jack Longstaff then, Richard Longstaff. So, Royal Army Medical Corps. Tell us, Jack, what made you want to join the army initially, and then more importantly, how did you end up in the Royal Army Medical Corps? How did that come about?
Good question. Essentially, I mean, you can see on the shelf behind the picture of my father. My father was a soldier. His father was a soldier. His father was a soldier. So it was a sort of, my father never said a word about joining the army to me. It was a bit of an implied task, though. Yeah. And I thought, well, it might be interesting. I'll give it a go. And 42 years later, I'm still in it. I've been a soldier for 42 years, one way or another. There have been a few different mechanisms of that. But yeah, I'm still serving. I've got 16 months to go.
And come on to transition in a moment. Can I just go back to your dad then? Because I was unaware that your dad had served in the military. So what did your dad do? Was he medic or?
No, he was REME. I think I was always a bit of a disappointment to him that, I've got a hand like a bunch of bananas when it comes to anything practical, really. But he was an armourer. He left in 79 and I joined in 82. So sort of a 3-year difference. It was a bit of a family tradition, really. And I thought I'd always had interest in matters military, especially history, which I've still got today. And it was through that, I suppose. My father, as I say, never said a word about joining to me, but when he knew I was, he gave me a few tips and what he thought was the way forward. Brilliant. And the rest, as I say, is history.
Right, which we're going to cover in some detail as we go forward. And let's go back then. So it's 1982. Let's assume you're in school, wherever you finished off your schooling. Yeah. And you've done your O levels, and have you decided already then, by the time you left school, right, going in the army? And did you have a confirmed vacancy? How did that come about?
I think from about 14, I thought, I'm going to have a go at it. Went to the selection, filled all the paperwork in, as we all have done. Went to the selection centre. They gave you a list of choices, and as it happened, from what I remember, it was a long time ago. I think the medical corps was like my third choice because my father had transitioned into City Street, and he was doing health and safety in City Street.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, you see where this is going?
I do indeed.
And I thought, okay, I got rejected for the first two. I think it was Int Corps and Tank Corps because I had my mate who joined the tanks. I'm glad I didn't do that. And medical corps was number 3, and they allocated me to the medics. And I thought, okay, I'm happy to be in. I thought I'll probably go down this sort of route my father followed. And as I say, you know what happened next.
I do. So Let's pick a date in history. I know. Why don't we pick the 7th of September, 1982? A day close to all of our hearts.
Yeah, ingrained in our collective memories.
So I travelled from Nottingham to Aldershot. Where did you travel from?
Wareham in Dorset.
So you came up you met.
Yeah. It was the first time I'd ever come across anybody who wasn't from the south, and the different accents, and I think I got a bit of a hard time really, because everyone thought I was really posh because I spoke like I do, and everyone else had northern accents, and I thought, well, I'm no different to you really. I remember getting picked up at the Ashvale station. In fact, did I tell you? I'll come on to it when I went back there last year. Picked up, and then, well, I remember the first few days were quite relatively easy. I think they were just breaking us in. I remember getting lining up for a haircut, I think, in the old cinema. There was a bit of chaos there, and I tried to do a bit of organisation, and then Howard Ainley, who was one of our boy junior NCOs, quickly slapped me down, and I thought, probably.
I know what you mean.
This isn't quite what I thought it was going to be.
So who picked you up at the station? Then? What?
Was it Sticks Taylor?
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know.
Slowly passed away.
Yeah, poor fella. Quite tough, quite nails, but yeah. I think he failed me in my weapon handling test once or twice in the apprentice college as well. Take no prisoners.
No prisoners. Got to reach muster, or you're not in. So you get like us then dragged up to the back gate. I'm really intrigued about for people's first memories of apprentice college. You see, because I'm not going to go through mine now. It's not this is all about your story, but. Tell me just give me what happened. What was going through your mind? So we're up from the back gate now. We're in. Well, how did you find that first week? Was it frenetic? Was it easy? Was it scary?
The first few days was relatively easy. I seem to remember going on a walk in combats, and that's all it was a walk up to the Ashvale Ranges. And I thought, this isn't hard, was it? But yeah, they were breaking us in gently, I think. And we certainly felt it in the next few months after that, I think, and that was a bit of an eye-opener. And I often reflect back to that, and I think that, I see people putting on, best days of my lives. I'm thinking, I must be living in some sort of alternative reality, because I remember it being quite brutal, to be honest.
It was, and
talk about Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Flies. There was a bit of that, and I sometimes think if they were to go back historically and see some of the shenanigans and some of the stunts that some people pulled in the apprentice college, no,
you're quite right, and I think obviously I've been out of the army a long time now. We'll come on to you in your current role a bit later on, but you're right. At that time, I'm guessing it wasn't actually that easy. I'm not saying it was brutal, but there were things going on that wouldn't happen nowadays.
Oh, definitely.
No names, no drills.
No, of course not.
I know there was bullying going on. I know people were, in some cases, crying themselves to sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe there were people thinking, "What have I come into?" And I'm probably glad to say that I'm hoping that's not going on now, because that's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, but we didn't know any better then, and it was just a case of turning to and that's how we were brought up. In you turn to the right and carry on, soldier on. Like you say, it wouldn't happen now. It shouldn't happen now.
Yeah,
but it molded us into the soldiers we became, I suppose.
Well, it's very true. Talking of soldiers we became and soldiers that we started off as, I want to show you a little picture right there.
Here we go. Crikey, Charlie!
Look at this. So
yes.
Let's put me and you down the side. So I've circled the flashes on your shoulders.
Yeah, that's for Harden House or Company as it became.
So I found this picture, and I thought, well, that's very interesting, and it's interesting for a number of reasons. The first one, it was to show how smart you looked, because I'm assuming you've been in a little while.
That was taken in 1983, I think.
Right,
so about a year in.
So been about a year in.
I've still got that hat, Dick. I can
see it behind you. Is that the one behind you?
That is the same hat.
Wow.
You would need me to adjust my camera.
Oh, you do that? Seriously, is that the same one?
That is the same hat.
Wow, man, that's brilliant.
In fact, let me get it.
Does it still fit?
I remember it being very tight. Hang on. It's a bit knackered now, obviously, and I haven't fixed the chin strap, but I kept it as a bit of a memory.
Wow.
It is the same hat. Let me just readjust my camera. He says.
Here we go. That's good, mate. Clear as a bell. Absolutely.
Hang on. Yeah, so there you go. Same hat. I kept it.
That has kept in very, very good condition, hasn't it, really?
Only as a reminder. I think I've got my stable belt up there as well.
Well, that's a good thing to keep, actually, Jack. That's really good. And what I noticed, of course, so if you look at the hat on the screen, the one that you've got on your head there, that's the hat of an apprentice RAMC soldier who's a 17 and a half. The one you've got in your hand there is a more seasoned soldier's hat.
Yes.
Who's learned how to shape it.
Well, I put it in an MFO box and it came out that shape.
Right. So it was more accident than design.
Yeah, I didn't design to do it. But I was never in the slash peak business that people did. Yeah. I thought, far too aggressive. So I never did that. But I kept the hat as a bit of a reminder. Do you want to look at the stable belt?
No, just we'll come on. We'll come on. I've got you nice and clear now. That's cool. I can't believe you still got that. It's absolutely fantastic.
I've got a KF shirt somewhere. Comes to about here.
Yeah, you can use it as a napkin. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's pedal on forward a little bit. So 1982, in you come. Hardened house, smart-looking young man there, a little bit fluffy on the hair, if I dare say so.
Well, that's changed.
Let's just bring that picture back in, Sean. So look, I did point an arrow to that picture, thinking, oh, there's some hairage going on there. But that brings me to another point. Although apprentice college was really good, and it really, as you mentioned it, you said it was the forming of the men that people became. I personally loved apprentice college, not just because we did winemaking with Jim Byrne at some point.
I remember,
but we really loved it. But, you could get away. You had to be smart. You had to be well sitting down. But you could get away with a little bit of hair every now and then.
I remember people having absolute masses of hair under their berries, and then they take their berries off, all their hair would flop out. But when they got the berries on,
I'll tell you that the one who always springs to mind when you talk.
I think I know who you're going to say.
We might be Brucey Duncan, because
yes, Bruce is one of them.
He used to take his berry off
and his hair
and do that. Like the L'Oreal advert, because he's worth it. This hair used to hit people. Yeah. Unbelievable.
And I tried a flat top once and it didn't work, so I had to shave my head. I looked like a tennis ball.
Oh, that's what I used to have all through. Well, for most of my army career, I had that weird looking. I haven't changed that much now, to be honest.
Well, you still got it, unlike some of us.
Little bit. It does come off at night.
I showed my son a photograph of me in the apprentice college, my youngest son, and he is very physically similar to me. And he was like, his eyes were came out on stalks, like on saucers, when he saw how similar we were physically. We're not that similar by nature, but he went, "That's scary." And I said, "Yes." I said, "And you know what's coming, son, don't you?"
Look out, son, look out. It's coming your way, my boy. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, and so I'm gonna hand stuff over to your good self now then. So I'm kind of intrigued now. So come to the end of apprentice college. Take us through, Jack, how you ended up as Army Environmental Health, and how but more importantly, what made you think, I don't know, I'll be a train sniffer? What was the catalyst that made you go down that direction?
Well, my father had become a health and safety officer in a food factory in Dorset after he left the army, and I just thought, that sounds quite interesting. So even probably when I joined the apprentice college, the day I joined the army, I wanted to be an environmental health assistant. I'd never really considered anything else. We all had to go through the MA3 thing, if you remember. So we all became MA3s. But I'd always wanted to do it just because of what my father had done, really. And as it happened, it became quite an interesting subject. I I think probably that's as far as it went, really. I just always had the aspiration to be an environmental health assistant, as was technician,
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
became, and that was my motivator. And family history is a big motivator.
It is. It is. Do you
Um,
remember? Do you remember who interviewed you? Do you remember
yeah,
that?
Brian Hart interviewed me,
Yeah,
and I. This is a story, and I came out of the interview feeling quite good, and then that night, do you remember Roddy Monaghan,
of course
Sergeant
I do.
Roddy
Yeah,
Monaghan?
yeah.
I think he came up to the Harden Lines drunk, and he went, "Oh, sorry about today, Longstaff," and I went, "Huh? What's he on about?" And turns out I'd failed the interview, so I put a complaint in. Well, not a complaint, but I said, and I got a second track of the whip, and I actually got in on the second
Oh, right.
interview. I don't think your man was too happy at that, but he let me in,
And you went.
and I started trade training. I think, was it May '84?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
was
May?
about mid. I don't know the exact date, but you're right. It's about mid-May '84,
Yeah,
and it's quite. It always makes me laugh, because that I look back on our, because obviously, so everyone's aware, we're on the same EHT3 course.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, why don't we see? I might actually have a little picture. Old fire jack. Let's see.
I know the one.
Oh, there we go. Look.
Yes, illustrious company mostly.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, that it was a very good course.
It was tough. It was academically tough, but
Yeah,
it was. I really enjoyed it. It stretched you. You had to work hard, and you had to demonstrate that you're working hard.
did. Yeah.
And I remember the briefcase thing and marching around. And
Oh, yeah.
I was also seem to remember I was really pleased. Well, I'm a adult regular soldier now. This is great.
Yeah.
And it was not easy, but
I think you're
you
right.
know,
And what I recall in particular was, and you and I are in exactly the same position. We'd gone through apprentice college, which it wasn't hard, it wasn't difficult, but it was challenging. It was very
yeah,
challenging because there were so many people, so many personalities, and so many things to get right. Initially it was hard because we didn't know military, but then over time we became very good at that.
yeah. I'd say that's fair.
And we became good at drill, and we became very fit, and all those things kind of slotted into place. So within that 2-year period, the vast majority of us turned up as pretty decent soldiers. And then, of course, out you go, you finish that now. And then we go into
I think
environmental
we
health.
started slightly early, didn't we, Dick?
What
We started the course, I think, the May, and I think the pass out for the apprentice college wasn't until the June or something.
Oh,
You remember that?
your memory's better than mine
Yeah,
now.
that was definitely the case, because I remember watching the apprentice college people who are still in the ACOL doing their corporal's course, which was the big seller thing, which we never got to do because we started our trade training in the May.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
do you remember?
Yeah,
I remember watching them on the drill square thinking, oh, well, there you go. Never mind.
But in we go then, kind of baptism of fire there. And you mentioned it there.
Oh, we're stood together. Yeah, that's nice.
We are. We're right there. Look.
Al Wood on my left. Look at the size of him. I got drawn up against him to do milling in the apprentice college.
Look here.
So me and Al Woods ended up milling together.
Oh, that is brilliant.
I knocked him down. I couldn't believe it.
Well,
it's a lovely man, Al.
Well, he is, and it's worth mentioning because I know he watches these. So Alan and his good lady do.
He's probably forgotten.
No, he won't have forgotten, man. Don't forget, he went on to do great things in the police, murder detective, and all trident and crime, real serious stuff. He's retired now. I believe he's retired. But what a wonderful guy, lovely fellow, really. And in fact, if you look at the gang on that course, is that the end of the course? Is that when we finished?
It's very near the end, I think, because I don't remember anybody in that photograph who didn't pass the course.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody. I mean, we started with double that number. Do you remember?
I do. Yeah.
They were slowly filtered out, and I think that's it. In fact, that's right. That's right. I think that's everybody who passed. So it must be very near the end.
I think you're probably right, and quite intense. There was There's lot
some faces there.
Yeah, there are, man. Some of those will crop up later on, but that time, for people watching this who maybe aren't from a military environmental health background, that was no easy feat, was it? That course, that was
that's a fair.
What? Tell me some. Let's change the view. Tell me some of your key memories of the course. Then what?
Well, the initial studying phase was really quite intense.
Yeah.
I remember, working a full day in the classroom and then going back and doing another 4 or 5 hours in your barrack block, and then nearer the end, cramming for the exams which were coming. Now I can't remember which days did we have the exams on. Was it a Monday or I can't remember?
No, it was on the exams were on the Friday.
We got the results,
and then I think a week later on a Monday you'd get your. Oh,
and it was fearsome. You think, if I got through, because you'd see people who you thought, yeah, they'll be all right. No, see ya, see you later. Oh, crikey! So it was actually quite scary.
I mean,
it was a long time ago.
It was hard work.
It was hard work.
And it was scary, man. It was scary, and I was on a couple of occasions. I'm still not the brightest tool in the flipping toolbox.
I think I remember you saying, yeah.
I was dragged across, and I think it was Dusty Miller, who used to put the fear of God into me. I came close, man. I came close to getting a boot at my arse, but luckily scraped through, got through all the rest of it. So we did that, didn't we? And then at the end of that, which is when let's bring that back in. So at the end of that, then this is what we're now about. Was it July maybe 84 or something like that?
Yeah, could be.
Well, thereabouts. We finished our course. This merry band of criminals to be then gets sent off. They go. Where did you go?
I went to HQ Southwest District in Bulford, and again, I didn't choose anywhere exotic. They're probably quite glad somebody.
Did you pick it?
I picked it. I seem to remember I picked it only because it was relatively near home.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it meant that I could get home every weekend. I couldn't drive at the time. EH taught me to drive.
Yeah.
I couldn't get home. I could get home from there every weekend, which is what I wanted to do. I'd had a year and a bit in the apprentice college. Quite austere, I thought. Then we had that 6-month course. It was certainly intense course, and I just wanted a bit of. So that's why I chose Bulford, and it was a good choice. My first adult posting. Who was there? Skippy Lewis was the corporal.
Oh my God!
When I got there, yeah. I don't know what happened to him. Nice fella, Australian. PQ Smith and Andy May were my sergeants. Pete Pitt was the warrant officer. Captain Membry, Brian, was it? I don't know his first name. I got to call him Sir. He was the OC. And it was my first year in adult service. Yeah, I spent a year there, going home every weekend, which was great. For a young soldier. It was only a 3-hour bus drive, bus journey. I used to tootle into the precinct of Bulford, buy me bus ticket, and I was on the bus that afternoon going home. Went home with and had a great time at the weekend. I used to get a bit depressed on the Sunday afternoon having to come back.
But,
that's life.
When did you learn to drive? Where did you learn to drive?
It would have been that autumn, I think, up in Leconfield.
Good, okay.
And I passed first time. I was passed it. Didn't think I would. Got the driving course. Had to save up then for a car, but I didn't find a car until much later. So is that autumn? I seem to remember in Leconfield I learned to drive, and the army taught me how to drive.
Yeah, good man. So were there other trainees on that course as well?
No, there wasn't. So it was an all-arms course. It was just me from the EH. Wow. There was quite a significant amount of young soldiers learning to drive, I remember. But learned to drive around Beacon. Where was it?
Yeah, Leconfield,
Leconfield, but there was also all in that area.
Driffield, Leconfield.
Driffield, that's what I'm thinking.
Up there, that way. We did ours. I'm not going to go into the details now because this is not about me, but when I eventually do talk about my sort of career thing, there's some wonderful stories to be told, because I was very lucky to be there with a bunch of trainees. So Big Ted, myself,
Crikey, yeah.
Who else was up there? Brucey Duncan, and we got up to some stuff, man. I'm telling you now.
Well, that's because you had a cohort there, didn't you?
We did, yeah, exactly. We're very lucky, and we did all sorts of things that we shouldn't have done, but which I'm obviously not going to go into now. So let's fast forward then. So you're in Bulford, then we come back at whatever stage about a year later, and we all go through it all again. Is it at this stage that you leave Army Health, you move on to? Did you then go and do CMT after?
No, well, I'll tell you the story. So,
sure.
as I said to you before, if you want to purely talk about my EH career, it's not going to be a long chat.
Yeah.
I was sort of scratching my head thinking, why does he want to talk to me? I don't know. I only spent 2 years in the trade. Went back to fill the class 2 and didn't pass it first time.
Right.
And okay, for the reasons for that, I can't quite remember. Whether I wasn't up to it academically, don't know. I did spend that year beforehand not studying. I spent that year at the weekends doing what young men do, and didn't pass it. Okay, that was a disappointment. And they said, well, you've got another year to get your ducks in line. And of course, then they posted me to Gibraltar, which was like the Wild West.
Oh no!
And God, it was a summer '85, must have been. Posted into Gibraltar. Tony Bomer was my EH staff sergeant, and he met me at the airport. And he said, "Well, where do you want to live?" He says, "You've got an army boss, me, and you've got a navy boss, Squid Quanstrom, and we're by service. So where do you want to live?" And I thought, well, wherever I go, I can always live with the army. So I thought, do you know what? I'll live with the navy.
Don't blame you.
And it was a good choice and a bad choice, because I had a good time with the navy. That's where I got this from. Because of the amount of drinking that I did and chasing wrens, and that's.
Did you catch any?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Another story. My wife might be watching this, so
she might do.
I don't want to go into too much detail.
Moving on.
But it was like the Wild West, and I spent the whole year enjoying myself further, and it was like the Wild West. I had a great time in Gibraltar for that year, but it wasn't exactly conducive to studying, shall we say.
I'm getting
So came back for the second class 2, failed that, unfortunately, and then it was sayonara, see you later, and that was the way it was. And I remember at the time being quite peeved and thinking, well, but looking back in hindsight, I wouldn't have had the life I've had since.
Well, exactly.
I wouldn't have met my wife.
It's an opportunity.
I've got now. At the time, I was sad, but there you go.
Well, there you go, and that you're quite right. And as one door closes, many more open up, which we'll go into shortly. So you leave EH then, and then what? How does that work? And what did they say? Right, Jap, what do you want to do next? Do they give you a choice?
Yes, they did. Yeah. They did. I went back to KEO, to holding and drafting, I think it was called. And they give you a career interview. What do you want to do? You can go CMT or MA, or I think it was in the process of changing from MA to CMT. Yeah. And I thought, I don't really want to do that. What can I do? I thought, right, I'm getting out. I've done it. I've tried it. I'm getting out now.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, well, I'm going to need time to go home. So where's near home that I can get posted to? And Luggershaw came up, Med Stormont.
Yeah.
And I only ever went Med Stormont to get to Luggershaw, which is very near Bulford, so I could do the same that I did before. Go home and prep myself for City Street. So I thought, I'll do that for a couple of years. So I got posted to Luggershaw, and guess what? I met a fantastic cohort of people. The med stores trade at the time had a pretty bad reputation for drunkards and stupid people. You had to be pretty thick to be a med storeman. But there was actually quite a good, as I say, good cohort of young people coming in that are actually fairly decent quality, and same as me, decent young blokes. I did it, passed it, no problem really, and found out I quite enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And I stayed at a Med Supply Tech as it became for the next 10 years. So I did a year in, year in Lagershall. Got posted out to Rintown in Germany. First year was pretty awful. Lack of promotion. I was still a private, and all my contemporaries are now becoming Lance Corporals. Some were becoming Corp.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember. You remember Bonk Preston from the?
I do.
Fella.
Bless him. Yeah.
He was promoted to Corporal the day I got promoted to Lance Corporal. So.
There's just someone at the door. These things happen. Salavi. Yeah.
So second year was better because I got promoted. Got my first tape in '88.
Yeah,
I think it was
in Germany.
In Germany, yeah. In fact, I think I remember you coming to my room for a visit. Do you remember that plant pot that you?
I do. Yes.
Fertilised. Yeah. Thanks very much for that. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm meant to do the surprises here, not you. what goes around?
There you go. You reap what you sow, Dick.
In fact, stop right there. Is it at this time?
Yes, it's that. Well, that's slightly later on. That one. That's the photograph I showed to my youngest son to go.
I'm going to come back to that then.
Yeah. So second year was better because that's when I met my wife, the girl to be, who became my wife, Tracy. I was stagging on the main gate. It was the time when the IRA were bombing Germany.
Yeah.
So we're all doing a lot of guard duties. I was on the main gate, and this new posted in QA came in. I was stood on the gate with my SLR as was, and I thought, oh, yeah, she's nice. Yeah. And being the natural reticent Englishman that I am, I didn't approach her at all. But I got drunk one night, and this is a bit rude, this. And in the bar, I approached her and I went, "Hello, my name's Dick." And she went, Yeah, you look like a dick. But it worked. I got a date with her, and I'm still married to her 2 years later.
Wow.
She's from Manchester.
That
so
amazing,
no holds barred, really. Progressed through that. So got posted to DMed Bielefeld, which is where that photograph was taken.
Yeah.
That's the photograph I showed my son to say, yeah, this used to be my hair, son. I actually got promoted really quickly. I went from private to sergeant within 23 months, which is fairly phenomenal. So I'd had 5 years of nothing, and I'd got promoted to Lance Corporal. I can't remember, but it was 23 months going from private to Lance Corporal to sergeant.
Wow.
The sergeant in October '90, but because of the way the trade was set up, I stayed as a sergeant until I got out.
That's going to bring us on to almost the Gulf time. So what we do at this stage is we take a natural break. So bear with me 1 second. We're going to take a natural break. You'll still be on. No one can see you anymore, so you're out of screen. I'm just going to put some interval music on. Bear with me 1 second. Let's bring Jack back in. We had a small interlude, and there's a reason I did that, and I didn't realise just how brilliant our Corps March was until the weekend that's just gone. When we had the dinner, the dinner at Coventry, which I'm going to talk about at the very end, but I wanted to put that back on because there's people joining us who missed it at the start, and I thought,
well, technically we should be standing up, of course. But
I might have been. Yeah, we'll pretend we were because we were both out.
Well, I catch, having done PM's president of the mess committee a few times. I like to play the Corps marches, And I like to catch the people out when they don't recognise their own core march. And I've done that a few times as well.
No, that's a good thing to do. I want to bring up some photographs, so let's have a quick look. And then we touched on this briefly. Can you see the big yellow arrow?
Yes.
So I work in safety and risk management.
This is the late 80s.
Yeah. So what I've learned is, if I ever see anyone see that arrow, if I ever see a mustache like that, I always want to know where the nearest fire exit is, so I can so I can get away when they start talking to me. Who is the mustached man with a yellow arrow?
That's Pete. Do you know what? I can't remember his name. He's a civvy storeman who worked in Bielefeld.
Okay.
He's ex-RMC. I think it was ex-Theatre Tech.
Okay.
He married. I can't remember what his circumstances were, but I do know that he rejoined the services as an RAF officer.
Oh,
and he became an RAF medical officer.
Wow.
Or nurse, sorry, RAF nurse. I remember seeing on the telegram, that's Pete, civvy storeman. But he had a military career in the RAMC, left, and that's where I met him as a civvy, and then he rejoined. The last call with me is Stu Bettridge. He's now in the US, I believe. He's settled out there. I do look a bit slovenly there. I think a few beers had been imbibed. I think that photograph was taken at the end of Op Granby. For when I mean we were working mental hours trying to get all the med PUEs sorted before that, and I think it was a bit of a consolation prize. They gave us a party in the cellars downstairs in DMed Bielefeld.
Oh, that's nice. That's really cool.
1980s glasses, great.
Yeah, I mean it's got an 80s look about it, hasn't it? I think things are slightly different. So is it true? I could be wrong here. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about Belize, although I saw you starting I did see you starting to sweat and have palpitations, but
I did spend a 3-month thing, but didn't mention that, in Belize over Christmas '84, and that was interesting.
Well, that was as a trainee, wasn't it? So that's We'll go, but let's go back and talk about that very briefly. So who? But not the bit that you and I talked about before. That's not going to get spoken about. So who were you there with? What was your team?
Do you know what? I can't remember the sergeant's name.
It was a while. It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Northeastern lad, not a great presenter, which is a bit of a drawback in the EH world when you've got to stand up in front of a hard audience and give them some information. I remember even as a private soldier looking at him thinking,
right, okay,
what a good presenter, this fella.
That's probably why he can't remember his name.
That's why I can't remember his name. Geordie lad.
It doesn't matter, whatever. But how did you find Belize? Was it a good time? Did you have a good time there?
Well, yeah.
It was all right.
It was different, and it was an eye opener to the rest, how the rest of the world works. Yeah, I mean, we got out. I remember going up to Holdfast and doing some EH stuff there. I mean, I was still a trainee, so I didn't have any sway really, and I'm still a private soldier, so I didn't really have any sway. But it was a good learning experience. As I say, it was only 3 months, I think.
Yeah, short stint. But
did I take over from Al Woods? I think I took over from Al Woods.
Oh, right.
And what he did was he'd set one of those rat traps in the office. He set a rat trap and put it into the box, and I pulled it out, and the bloody rat trap went off. And I think I spoke to him. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite good. But nice place. It could have been worse. He could have ended up what happened. Bless him, he's dead now, obviously. But Eddie got bitten by a Ferdinand when he was there.
I think I remember that story. Crikey, yes.
That's
not something. What about the Kazibak in war?
Well, they did. I mean, very briefly. I got the story when I was over there. I did a 6-month split over there. Straight immediately after the Gulf War, I was still on leave from Gulf War when I went to Belize. But anyway, that's by the by. But yeah, Eddie had encountered this. The lads had a snake in a box. In
soldiers, don't you love them, eh?
And they thought it was one of them little baby boa constrictors. Turns out it was in disguise. It was actually a Ferdinand. The most lethal bit of slithery thing you're ever going to find. And it bit him, and he did get Kazibaked. He was Kazibaked when his nostrils and his ears and his eyes started bleeding and his fingernails.
Crikey.
They stuck him on a plane to Florida. He ended up in Florida.
I can imagine.
And I could be wrong here. I do think that his wife was flown out to say goodbye to him, and also the bloody padre on standby and all that kind of stuff, just for a little snake bite. What's that?
Wow.
Yeah, he never drank cider. After that, he never drank. Yeah. I'll just have the lager this time.
Yes, no cider, thank you.
Last time I had a snake bite.
Oh, you bad man.
Yeah. But anyway, so there you go. So we'll fast forward from there. When we finished the last little snippet, we were talking about up Granby. So you obviously
yes, I never deployed on Granby, but I did the prep for the med kit in Bielefeld to get it all out there, and that was mental. 18-hour days for 4 or 5 months. We were tired at the end of that, and I had a fiance by now who was. I was in Bielefeld, she was in Rintown. I'd try and get back to her whenever I could because I was a young man in love. I wanted to do that. It was exhausting and quite a tough time. I remember.
I can imagine.
I often thought that, and some of the med storemen, I was the next one to deploy, but they never wanted me, and I didn't really want to go because I was getting married.
Yeah.
We had planned to get married in the summer of '91, but because we didn't know what was going to happen on Granby, so our wedding was called forward, and we were married on Christmas Eve 1990.
Oh wow!
Reason. So we didn't know whether she'd be deployed or I'd be deployed. So we thought, let's do it. So we had a bit of an ad hoc, quick wedding in Manchester.
Wow, that's cool, man.
So we had a warm wedding.
Yeah, but you did end up going back. You did go to the Gulf. I know that.
I did.
Can you? When you went there, you went as obviously out there with Med Storman? But am I right in saying, do you remember that guy Hippo? There's a guy called Hippo, isn't there? Now,
good old Hippo. What a character. Or something beginning with a C, anyway.
Well, I didn't know. He became a famous rock star. I don't know if you're aware of this.
That's right.
And at the time of you being out on one of your tours out in the Middle East, I think he might have had his show. He might have had his He might have had his show going on. So,
that was a surreal occasion.
Tell me, what was he doing? What the hell is he up to?
He was some sort of MC compere for a CSE show. That's actually in Iraq itself. They laid on this CSE show for the troops who just finished the warfighting phase on Telic 1.
Yeah.
So we're all full of dysentery, effectively. We're all absolutely stone cold sober, and because we just want to have a bit of a diversion. So all the doctors, nurses, everybody, all the hospital staff went to this CSE show, and I hadn't seen him for years, and all of a sudden Hippo pops up on the stage doing his compare thing.
Unbelievable.
So I took that photograph because it was completely surreal.
That is bizarre.
Wow, that's Hippo.
He likes
anyway, and I met him later as well, and that's another story.
Well, he loves his singing. I
don't think he was singing on this occasion. Thank God.
He's actually quite good, and you probably, I don't know if you are aware, you may or may not be, but he got me when I moved. I'll just take that off in a minute, so I'll bring you closer into the shot. This is a true story. So he got me my job in New Zealand. We went to live in so I actually took over from Hippo at Ashburton District Council in New Zealand, and it was quite famous for singing. He used to go. He did like kindergarten tours and sing and entertain the children. I remember reading the comment. He showed me all the comments. One that struck in my mind was, "Very good entertainer. Can he wear trousers and underpants next time, though? Because the kids are scared."
Well, you didn't know him. He would be a scary fella. He had the broadest Devon accent I ever came across. But
so tell me about that tour then. How long were you out there for?
Well, we deployed 4 days before kickoff, March 2003. By this stage, I'd left the regular army, joined the territorials, because they got rid of the CEG, the Career Employment Group.
Right.
They got rid of it, went to RLC, but there was still a need for that speciality. So I ended up becoming the SQ Med for one of the 2 British field hospitals that deployed on Telic 1. I was a reservist. It was, again, quite strange how these decisions and more decisions have been made very recently about the future of the Corps, but how these decisions pan out. But I was the SQ Med, so because I knew a bit about med stalls,
Yeah,
medical equipment, medical logistics.
Natural progression there.
Well, yeah. There we are. That's some of the guys and girls from 208 Field Hospital.
Is this during that deployment that you're
Yes, it
referring
is.
to?
And that's coming towards the end
Yeah.
of that deployment. It's not a great quality picture.
No.
But do you know what, Dick? I was really pleased to be able to do it because it was my first op tour.
Yeah.
I never did one as a regular,
Yeah.
but they wanted us on Telec 1, and we were called, and those people answered the call. And you know
Yeah.
what? I'm extremely proud of both my deployment on Telec and what we
Sure.
did. To be able to do it, a good thing in a bad situation is an
Yeah.
absolute privilege.
Yeah.
I was, you know, Churchill said that territorial soldiers twice the citizen, and you know what regulars are like. We all slate
true,
the
yeah.
PA. Well, guess what? They're not very good at the marching up and down and saluting and shooting guns thing, but clinically, which is what the army wants to call, they were brilliant, and that was a lesson for me. You know, yeah, they're not the greatest military element, but their clinical specialties and skills, second to none. Really, really proud to have served with them.
Yeah. Well, you make a very good point there, because, you know, and we've all done this as regular soldiers. Let's take the piss out of the stabs and the TA, and that's fine. It's banter and all the rest of it. But you've hit the nail right on the head.
It's true, Dick.
We don't want them to be great soldiers.
That's
not
right.
these. We want them to be clinicians, doctors, nurses,
dentists.
Fella,
keep people on a stretcher.
Yeah,
and that's what they did in spades.
Exactly.
And I was a bit cynical. I mean, when I joined the TA in '96 after taking redundancy, I was like, you know, people corporals openly canoodling with captains, and you know, I'm laid back, but even I was like, tilt does not compute, and absolute privilege to have served. I really do believe it, and I take great pleasure in telling regulars, you know, the greatest war-winning army this nation has ever had has been the British Army at the end of the First World War. And guess what? It's not a regular army.
No,
that's just me being a historian geek.
Well, we're going to come on to that shortly. I want to bring up another couple of pictures. No, we're not allowed to dwell on these. I want to know where, when, and a lasting memory of this occasion.
Do you know what, Dick? I don't know where. I know the two individuals, of course I do. These are two chaps who I deployed on Telec with. I don't know, am I allowed to give the names? Or
gosh, absolutely.
Andy Parry, Major. Alistair Bond, Major. I mean, these two individuals have both been to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Awesome.
It was, do you know what? I can't remember the name of the occasion where it was taken.
But it doesn't matter. Three smart-looking gentlemen, especially
and they are.
In your bow tie. Eddie will be turning in his grave. Look what you've got in your hand, bloody cider. You've got.
I think I have. It's unusual. I don't usually drink cider, but
is that?
Oh, look, scruffy there.
There's Jap on his. That's that's you on a bike. I saw the pictures on.
That's right. It's my effort to try and stay fit.
But you have done. That's why I've put it in, because you went through. In fact, I had the distinct pleasure of chatting to you very recently. You was on your flipping treadmill. I called you.
Well, I'm at that age that if you don't do something about it, you're going to find yourself in trouble. So I'm very lucky in that. I mean, I have an employer which actively expects me to do it.
Good.
So one thing about my regular service is you couldn't do PT at the Army's time in the normal routine working day. You had to do it in your own time. Well, you want me to be fit, I'm going to do it in your time. So I do try and make an effort. Try to do something 3 times a week.
Good call. And I learned a lesson when I phoned you that day. So the lesson I took away from that is never call Jap. Just text him and say, "Are you on your treadmill?" It took me 3 days to get over listening to you panting and huffing and puffing. Like, you know, I didn't sleep well for a week. But that's
sorry, Dick.
You're welcome. It's not a problem. So let's move on.
Now,
who's the SAS guy in the picture?
That is another story. Now, that is Tommy. God rest his soul. He's dead now. Now, you see the fellow that I'm stood next to, my very good friend Andrew Burgess. We were requested, because we're history geeks, we were requested to go to the Trafford Armed Forces Veterans Breakfast Club, as still serving, wanted to show support, so on and so forth. And we went there first time. There's this little old man in the corner with an SAS beret on, And me and Virgie just looked at each other and sort of raised eyebrows. Yeah, really? Yeah, okay. Well, it turns out he is the real deal, Tommy. He was one of, I think, the formation of the SAS was so that they did it as a bit of an experiment, did one raid which went wrong.
Right.
However, the army could see the value in having this specialized force. So Tommy was one of the 400 that was called up in the second tranche. He was real SAS in World War II. Served in the desert, served in the Adriatic, served in Italy, and ended up going through Northern Europe at the end of the Second World War. And you know, he was the real deal. He died a couple of years ago, poor fella. But he was 98, so I suppose he had a good innings.
Oh, okay. Well, that must be great. So I've got a couple of final pictures, and then I've got a couple of specific things to ask you questions about. So I put this up on purpose, and this is one of the main reasons why I wanted A, to ask you to come on, and B, why I was so chuffed when you said, "Yeah, I'd be delighted to come along onto this." Let me just get rid of that thing there for the time being. So I put this picture up on purpose because it shows to me the transition, your sort of military I better not do that. That didn't help matter, did it? The military transition of, on the right hand side, that young, fresh-faced, yet happy-looking little chap in 1983, I think we said it was, in Harden House, in that hat that you still got sat behind you. But then you fast forward it, key takeaways, still doing it, still giving service, still giving, of yourself to others, basically, and also still smiling. Now, that's always the, so if someone says to me if someone says, tell me about Joe, I say, well, he's a good lad, and he's funny, and he's humorous, and he's had a very long military career. And if they said, what will he be doing now? I'd probably say, smiling. You do, and you always have that happy disposition, and I always, that's how I think of you. If I think of you, I don't think of you panting in my ear like the last time.
Oh, that's not a good thing to have.
Like the last time we spoke, I do think of you as this happy-go-lucky fellow, which is really nice to see, with a great military career behind you. So that's why I put those pictures up. Who, just out of interest, who is the fellow that you're shaking hands with? Who is
that's Andy Taylor, ex-Farm Tech, who I met at Rintown.
Yeah.
In the late 80s. He's now a standard bearer up in Lancaster, I think it is, for the British Legion. And that photograph was taken in 2016 for the 18th. Oh, hang on. It's the 1st of July, so it's the commemoration of the Battle of the Somme. I'm really interested in the history of the First World War, especially the Army Medical Services. Whenever I do a talk, I always talk about the divisional sanitary companies of the RAMC. Very important.
No, they are. Keeps people alive.
Yeah.
Manpower wasted.
Not glamorous, but really important.
Yeah. Hey, it might be shit to you. It's my bread and butter.
The old ones are always the best.
The old ones are the best. Yeah.
And that was taken at that commemorate. We had a march through Manchester. On the 21st of July.
Brilliant stuff. Last couple of pictures, and then I've got some specific questions. Look, there's a man in the boat.
That was when I was my TA service. That was on the River Dee, I think it is, going through Chester. And that was my squadron at Macclesfield.
So
we were doing the dragon boat race.
Yeah.
So that was me bellowing my lungs out to try and get the territorial soldiers you can see in the boat.
Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that's a Christmas.
Did you not get the memo? Wear a Christmas jumper.
Well, do you know what, Dick? I say to my son, he says, "You're not very fashionable, Dad." I said, "Yeah, I've been there, done that, son. I just like looking smart now. You'll understand one day." So I always try and be as smart as I possibly can.
Good man. Well, doing a good job of it as well. Look, you've even got your little flower or whatever it is on there. And then I've got one final picture. And this is relevant. I said this right at the start. Oh, we'll talk about your garden later on. So, yeah, I know you've got a really nice. I haven't been in your back garden. I don't. I'm not stalking you. I haven't been. I've been hiding in your bushes when you're asleep. But I've often heard you talk about. In fact, the last time we spoke, you said, "Oh, I've got the landscapers in," or something like that. And so you've obviously got a nice garden that you're very proud of. and I wanted to juxtapose. That's a good word. I have to write that down.
Oh, fantastic. Dichotomy, get that in as well.
I was wondering if I'd be able to get that in, but I wanted to put the other picture in because they are linked in some weird way, aren't they? Well, because you're there with Richard.
Yeah, good old Dickie.
Yeah, so
he's an artist.
So with the other one, who's also into all things military history, which we're going to talk about very briefly. But I do believe he's got a tunnel in his God, a world.
Well, don't say it too loudly because yeah, he has, but I don't think he'll.
Don't say it loudly. It's live on the internet.
So yeah, but Dickie is extremely knowledgeable about the Great War. So much so, and those who know him know he's a bit of a legend in the Corps. He educates people.
You've got military history, haven't you? But and that's where I want to move on to now. So I know he goes around all the schools doing the talks. I follow him. I see what he does. I see
really knowledgeable.
Yeah,
he is funny as well.
Well, very briefly, I had the pleasure in 1980 something or other, 4 possibly, in a town in Bosnia called Bugojno, where I was the drain sniffer as part of a thing called MST Alpha. We're out there with the Duke of Wellington Regiment, and he was one of the medics in the section. Now, there wasn't many medics there. It was a little MST, med support troop or team or whatever it was. But he was one of the guys there, and a lovely fella. I didn't know him until then, and I haven't seen him since then other than on social media. But my memories are what a great guy. And he used to do little tell us about the times he lived on a kibbutz and all sorts of things. He's a fascinating character, very, very interesting. So
ask him the briefcase story.
I will.
You'll have to ask him about that. I won't go into depth there.
Don't put it on it. But that leads us on to military history then. So I think, in fact, before we do that, I've just been looking in the background, and I think I can pick up on a couple of bits and bobs. Am I looking at? Tell me if I'm wrong. That looks like a bottle of port. And is it?
It is.
It's drillers, isn't it? Is that drillers?
It is. Can you see that?
I can see
it. Is it a bit exposed?
So very clear. So can the world. If you have a bottle of drillers, that must mean you have been to Pirbright. Are you a drill pig?
I am.
You are.
Even though I am the nicest drill instructor I know. Yes, I am. Believe it or not, a drill instructor. Now, the only reason I did that was because I used to have to, as the Sergeant Major at Ellesmere Port, I used to have to take the whole parade at Ellesmere Port on Remembrance Day, and I thought, it don't look right without the pay stick. But I wasn't going to be one of these ones who just...
Have you got it there? Have you got a pay stick with it?
Yeah.
You do. Brilliant. Gold mine, gold dust.
So,
awesome.
I did the drill instructor's course just so I could carry the pay stick as the parade marshal for the Ellesmere Port Remembrance Day. So,
wow.
Yeah, I am a drill instructor.
That is brilliant, man. That is absolutely fantastic. You got the pay stick, a red sash, and a bottle of driller's port. I noticed there's another bottle of port down there as well. And also, are the guns behind you? Are they to do with your military history thing?
Sort of. I've always been very interested in military history.
Yeah.
I have a Bren gun. They're both deactivated. They're entirely legal. They're not, well, they are real, but they don't work. I wouldn't have them if they did. I've got a Bren gun, and, oh, crikey. My wife won't let me have it in the hall. When I bought it, I said, this would fit lovely in the hall. Wow. And she goes, get it upstairs. You're not having it there. And
wow, man.
I've got them because they're absolutely iconic pieces of British military history. Not because I'm some sort of gun lunatic. And the other one is the Lee Enfield from the First World War.
That is amazing.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, I've got it because it's a piece of military history. Not because I'm some sort of lunatic.
No, that's really, really cool, man. They look absolutely great. Sorry, I hate to go back on things we've already covered. Could you grab that bottle of port again? Because I don't think there was nothing in it. Have you drank it all?
Oh, and there's another story.
Well, do tell.
Well, yeah, I got it, and I thought that's iconic. I'm going to keep that as both proof that I went to the All Arms Drill Wing in Pirbright. I had my head in the bush. All that malarkey.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to keep that as a souvenir. Anyway, years later, I thought, I haven't seen that bottle of Driller's Port. It was in the back of my drinks cupboard, and there was like that much left at the bottom.
Ah,
My sons had got to it.
buggers.
Yeah. So I thought, right, okay, lesson learned. So now my youngest son especially, he comes over and I know he's going to make a beeline for the decent beer. So I have to hide the decent beer and just like put decoy beer out for him. So I know that he's gonna spot the decoy beer and home in on that, and he'll glug that. But the good stuff, I say, that stuff's not for you. That's too good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Semi-jokingly.
And if he gets persistent, you've got guns.
Well,
and a
they
pace stick.
don't work.
Yeah.
He doesn't know my youngest son doesn't know the significance of pace stick. My eldest lad has actually joined the Army Reserve.
Oh right, okay, cool.
He's a Clark AGC Clark Corporal.
Nice.
Calls me sir when we're both in character, and it freaks me out a bit, but he does it to weird me out.
I love it. Right, so let's start to have a think about rounding this little episode up, because as I knew this was going to do, it's flowed wonderfully, seriously. And,
I'm glad.
And you look up, and before you know it, you think, wow, we've been on an hour and 6, which is really, really great. So, so we started off in '82 as a young apprentice, and then we went to coming through it and environmental health, and then we went on to become the med storeman, and then you moved on, and through your operational tours, but you're still serving, aren't you?
That's right. That's
exactly.
Right.
So what are you doing now? Tell people what goes on in your life at the moment.
I'm an Army Force Protection Advisor, and working out of I'm on the books essentially of the Army HQ.
Yeah.
There's about 70 of us, sort of embedded in units, and what we do is we provide health and safety advice to the chain of command. I changed careers when I was 40. I decided that I was going to get back into health and safety, so I got the NEBOSH certificate. I got the NEBOSH diploma. I became chartered. I volunteered my services to the military because I knew this new trade was coming in.
Yeah.
Originally, they were asking for captains with a level 3 health and safety qualification. I went, well, I'm a warrant officer with a level 6. Are you interested? Oh, very interested in you.
Good.
And so I've been in that role for the last 15 years.
Wow. Brilliant.
So, I mean, the difference between that and EH really is, I think EH sort of sit at the sort of strategic level and look more at health, whereas we sort of sit at the tactical level and are more interested in safety, even though there's a bit of crossover between the two.
Love it. Well, that's quite fascinating. And then what's the next? How much longer have you got in that kind of position? And then what's the future looking like for JAP? What's on the horizon?
I've got another 16 months to serve. I've started the resettlement pathway already.
Yeah.
I'm taking advantage of that because I left the regulars in '96 and I didn't get what I think I should have got for various reasons. So this time I'm making sure I get absolutely everything. And I'm enjoying it. I'm looking at, it's all to do with the pension, and I won't go into detail because absolutely everybody's different, but essentially I've got to serve until I'm 60 to get the element of the 15 pension, which is actually the majority of my pension now on 3 different pension schemes.
Okay, yeah.
Getting out at age 60, my intent is I don't really want to manage anything or anybody. I'm going to stay with health and safety, I think. But I only want to work part-time because it's all to do with the amount of money that's coming in. And
that's really cool.
Yeah. I don't want to work 2 days a week to give the majority of it to the tax man.
No, you don't. And if you look back at what you've done and what you've achieved and the qualifications you've got, but more importantly, the experience, not just life experience, but professional experience and qualifications, you've got a lot still to give.
Yeah.
On your terms. And so
exactly,
to be able to step back to 2 or 3 days a week works out financially, works out in that work-life balance of which you have sacrificed a lot over the time, like everybody in the forces does. So you get all of that back in spades, and you get to choose what you do when you do it to an extent. So I think it's going to be a good next chapter without a shadow of a doubt. So what we're going to do then is kind of bring this to a close now. So whilst you're still on screen, I'll shoot you off screen in a second. I mean this, Jap, genuinely. Thank you so much for giving up your time today.
Pleasure.
It is so much appreciated. I've thoroughly
Thanks for asking me.
No, it really is our pleasure. And I know for a fact, so there's stuff in there. people are going to go, bloody hell, did you know Jap's kids drink port? And they'll go, no,
They drink anything.
They're going to go, my God, Jap was a drill instructor and he did this.
Yeah, hard to believe.
Yeah, and he did this and he did that. And that's the beauty of these little chats, that stuff comes out that you know about and your immediate group know about, but nobody else does. And, you know, it's important that we spread that joy around, basically. So thanks very much indeed. We'll no doubt, as we often do, bump into each other at something or other along the way. 2 key events coming up. Remembrance, where are you going to be for what do you do on Remembrance?
I tend to dot myself over 3 different locations. My hometown, I'll do 1 year. I'll do Manchester the next. And then I go to Liverpool to spend some time with the people who I deployed on Telec with.
Great.
Because that's important that we maintain our friendships in our anecdotage.
And who is it this year? Who gets you in November?
I think I'm going to Liverpool this year.
Excellent. So Scousers,
here
comes Jap. So that's the key. That's one key event. And for my birthday, what have you bought me this year? Anything like that? I'm just kidding. It's not my birthday.
I wish you happy birthday.
It was not my birthday. I'm only joking. But no, listen, mate. It's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome. One thing we do need to remind people of before you leave the stream is I don't know if you can hear my cat meowing in the background. I will actually stab it if it does it once more. The need for people to subscribe and interact and like and comment if you can. So we would appreciate that. Richard, Jap.
You never asked me why I got the name.
Why do the people call you Jap?
Prentice College, Rocky Wilmot, group of us. Rocky Wilmot points at the group and goes, you Japanese. And we're all going, who is it? Is it? And then he pointed to me and went, you, because I had dark hair, glasses, full of black hair. He went, you Japanese. And I made the mistake of going, but I'm not Japanese. Even my wife now calls me Jap.
Oh, really? I don't think I know anybody in the world. If you said, I'm going to show you a photograph of somebody, and then we put up a picture of you, I don't think I know anybody in the world who would say, oh, that's Richard.
No, only my mother calls me by my first name.
Is your mum? Oh, she doesn't call you Jap?
I don't think so.
Okay, we've got someone to work on then, haven't we? So then we'll get on to that. No, listen, mate. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Let's see if people enjoy this episode. I know they will.
Let's hope so.
They're going to love it. And Jap, you're out. You're gone. So why don't we see ourselves out